Hello and welcome to In the North Bank. We're doing a series of podcasts, Arsenal's Dream Squad, where we ask all the contributors of In the North Bank to come in. They've all been set a task. They get 300 million plus player sales, and they've got to come up with a squad. We'll get to that in a second. This week is my podcast brother, Brian from the States. And if you watch In the North Bank, you'll know me and Brian, we go hard at each other. So this one will be interesting.
Yeah,
How
we
you
do.
doing, bro?
Yeah, we do. What's up, man? Thanks for having me on. Like, I appreciate you let me do this, and I have a feeling this one's going to be pretty good. So anybody that wants to clap back at me, my Twitter's right down there. Anybody that wants to support Mark and tell him I'm a dumbass, Dave, Mark's right there. So let's do this, man.
Yeah, no, they'll come at me as well, Brian. But honestly, we've done maybe 4 or 5 of these now. This is the fifth one, I think. We've done 4 so far, and this is by far the most controversial. Actually, if you added all the controversy of the other 4, it's probably gets about 50% of what Brian produced on this. So I'm looking forward to this one. So,
And
Brian,
I will say, like, yeah, I've watched the other 3 or 4 that have dropped. Did not change a single thing based on whatever I've seen. Like
yeah.
everything that I'm saying here is my thoughts, whether good, bad, and different. So
No,
I'm here
100.
for it.
Listen, I'm going to back you up on this because when I've asked each contributor to give me their teams and send them through, one thing was for certain of what we're waiting on unveil here is what you have been saying over a period of time. It's not like you
That's
could have
true.
watched
It's
you've
true.
watched a podcast and thought, oh, that's a great idea. I think I'll go in this direction with it. No, this is Brian. Um, for the audience as well, Brian is from America. If you didn't recognize his accent, and he is Kronkie Junior. He is Stan's son, so he's spending his daddy's money today.
I
So
say, I say, let's spend some of that money, Dad.
yeah, he's given up some of his inheritance, but just a little, just a little. Right. So Brian, your task is to create a dream Arsenal 25-man squad. We need 3 goalkeepers. Then under Arteta's current system, I try to keep this so as realistic as possible. We're going to have 2 players at every position. I didn't want to go down the route that Tommy Asu could play across the back line. It's just we keep one player, one position, because you can only play one position at a time when they're on the park. So, and at the very end, we are looking for 2 academy players. So, ladies and gentlemen, strap in. Here is the player sales. Brian, speak to me, bro.
All right. So first of all, so we were using the transfer values of
Yeah,
transfermarket.us, and it originally was in euros, and to me that's all monopoly money, euros, pounds. I don't even know. So I went on one of the currency exchange websites and got these, and these from a couple days ago. So it may be a little bit off, but just using easy math here. Another thing too about this, like I know a couple people have, tried to have, oh, what seems realistic, what doesn't, and just for like the thought exercise here, like I'm just gonna say, what I saw is what I saw, and just kind of do the easy math on this.
yeah,
Um,
no, appreciate that,
so
bro. But yeah, you're right.
all right, so my first out, David Raya. Everybody knows my opinions on David Raya. I mean, number one, dude, you're a goalie. Like, stop trying to dribble the goddamn ball. Like, you want to play out from the back, fine, but don't sit there and look like you're trying to be some TV footballer where you're making everything look cool. David Raya's always going to have a howler in him. He's always going to make some stupid decision, and it may not bite us every single week, but it's going to be there. And then everybody wants to say, "Oh, he's so great at penalties. He did that one against Atalanta or whoever it was." Like, y'all remember that shootout in the FA Cup against Man U? Like that's all I'm saying. That's all that needs to be said. So Carl Hein, don't really have anything against him. I just figure it was a toss up between him and Setford, and that's kind of foreshadowing a little bit about who I'd keep and who I wouldn't. Um, but I kind of feel like Setford just has a little bit more of a higher ceiling, so kind of going that way with it. Ricardo Calafiore, yes, he is a very very handsome man. Love his tattoos, love his hair, like you know he's always dressed nice, but he can't stay healthy. And then when you get down to it, I don't see what he brings differently to the team that we don't already have. So get him out of here. Tamayasu, love him. He's really versatile, but he can't stay healthy, and we really can't pay somebody to kind of sit on the bench all year. Zinchenko, he's out. Like both of the bubs. I don't know if everybody knows, but I have 20-year-old boys that I named Kieran and Declan for the reasons we all think that I did. And like them sitting up there right now watching Toy Story or wherever the hell it is, they can play a better left back right now than Zinc. Like, I am not good about that. So going to Nuno Tavares, get him out of here. He's just not good enough for us when we do have the better options. It's nothing personal. I just think it's not something that really worked out for him. Didn't really work out for him at Forest. He's down at Lazio right now, down in Italy, and I heard he's doing pretty well. So you know what? Good for you. Have the career that you need. Then looking at Sambi Lakanga, again, just one of those things where he's just not good enough for us. He got relegated with Luton last year, and Sevilla is thinking up a joint in La Liga this year as well. Again, I just don't think he's for us. Next we got Leandro Trossard. Love that dude. Love it. He plays for the badge. He's got the raccoon celly. I love that too. Um, but we can upgrade on him, and we also don't want to lose him on a free. He's got 1 year left on his contract. I don't know if we're trying to sign him to an extension or anything like that, but that's kind of one of those things where we want to protect our investment in him, if you will. And I know this one is a hot take right here. Ethan Waneri. Ethan Waneri. Why would I get rid of him? I don't know if y'all really listen to the Wu-Tang Clan over there, but cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money, dollar bill, y'all. We can use his value, at least on transfer market, of like I had it as 55 million euros, so that's what, 45 million pounds, something like that. We can use that to invest in the squad. God forbid he fall off a cliff or something like that. We get the money for him now. We get the money for him now. Next is Reese Nelson. He can't break into the team. Like him coming up from the academy and everything like that. He's Arsenal through and through. But if he can't break into the team, then we need to get the money for him that we can. Next, I have Gabriel Jesus. I love Gabriel Jesus. He's a great teammate. He's a great dribbler of the ball, but he can't hit water if he fell out of a boat. Like like he can't. And you need a striker that at the end of the day is going to put the ball into the back of the net, and unfortunately can't do that. Plus he's blown out. I don't remember if he's done the same knee twice or if it's both his knees. But it's really really hard to come back from really bad knee injuries like that, and so it's one of those things. We don't want to pay somebody to be on the bench, and then this dude Marquinhos, heard of him like once or twice, never heard of him again. Um, I joke about that. But yeah, like he came in what 2-3 years ago and haven't heard from him since. Have not heard from him since, and so get the money for that.
Yeah, brilliant, bro. What I will say, and you made that quite clear that you went on a couple of days ago onto Transfermarkt and got the valuation of the players. What is there, Brian, is this is the easy part for me to say. I actually think that there is only a slight difference with what I would value these players at, but this is not my squad, it's your squad. There's only a slight difference. I think that you could get more, maybe around that for Calafiori. Tommy Asu, I think you're going to be lucky to get half of that because of the injuries.
Yeah.
Um, Tavares, he's actually got an obligation over 20 million plus there's a signing
Oh,
on.
that's right. He does. He does. I forgot
Yeah,
about that.
and there's
Forgot about that.
also a sell-on clause there as well. So if Lazio actually decided to cash in on him and they got, say, 30 million plus, Arsenal's get the 20 million, then we get percentage of like that sale as well. So that could actually go up. Kronkie, I loved your valuation. I think it's pretty close. Trossard would probably squeeze a bit more out of. Ethan, I think potential wise, 46 million there, probably in the market. Nelson, you're probably there. The other one that I think, again, I think you'd be lucky to get 20 million for Jesus just with the serious injuries. But
Yeah.
again, this was about you, but I've done this with everyone regarding the valuations, Brian, so I just want to bring that point up. Now, my takes on yours.
Oh,
Not
here
my
we go.
takes,
Here
not
we
my
go.
takes. Would it be fair to say that selling David Raya, you're only doing that because you want to mask up Saliba's errors this season?
Um, I mean, I think it's very telling that Saliba has not done as well as he has in the past without Big Gabby beside him. With that being said, a world class goalkeeper, which everybody says that David Raya is, will be able to paper over those cracks. And regardless of Saliba, stepping on his crank or whatever like that on the back line, David Raya, he'll kick a ball and you'll have no idea where it's going. Oh shit, when was that goal that he passed it to Saliba, and then he like that was a terrible hand on the camera there. Remember when he went like
Madrid, he
all the
done
way
it
to the
for
other side of the? Remember
yeah,
when he went
he done Madrid and he also done it against Bournemouth.
and remember in the group chat I was furious
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
I
I
was
think that was Bournemouth.
furious about that.
I think that was Bournemouth. That was
Okay.
against. Yeah, and you were like, and I told you in the group chat. I can't repeat what we said in the group chat, by the way, because we'd be it wouldn't be on YouTube at all. But me and Brian were really going back and forward to each other on that. Now, I've got a question for you. Could you ever see yourself selling timber?
Um, I think yes, but we would have to have the right backfill for him. I do like, I know that, for the purposes of this exercise,
Yeah,
we do want to have specific backups for specific players and
yeah.
specific positions. But I really like his flexibility. He can play the right, he can play the center back. I want to say we've had him on the left as well. Like,
Yeah, you can. Yeah, yeah, you can
he's
play left back as well. He's very good at left back.
yeah. I mean, he's had some injury trouble as well, but I feel like, with him being as young as he is, and I mean, he's kind of a brick shithouse.
Yeah.
He's a strong dude, and so I think it's a lot easier for him to recover from
Right.
the injuries because he does have as much fitness as he does.
The reason that I brought that up is it's Calafiori's first season, and yes, although that he has picked up injuries this season, Urian Timber played his first season and like 20 minutes into the game against.
It was like a
It was
preseason game.
no, it wasn't. It was the first game of the season. It was Nottingham Forest. I remember it well because I was travelling down to London. It was against Nottingham Forest. 20 minutes
Okay,
in. If,
okay.
if that, he done his ACL and he was out for the rest of the season. Calafiori has picked up niggling injuries, but he has still performed to a high level this season in the games that we've seen him, and it is his first season. That's the only reason I was trying to bring that comparison up.
But that's the thing right there. Urian Timber, he had one really bad injury, right? One really
Yeah,
bad injury, and he's been fairly solid. This season, having rehabbed it, having come back, Calafiori does have those multiple injuries,
yeah,
and so And so I worry more about someone that gets those multiple injuries, over time than somebody that had one big one and is able to bring it back.
Yeah, I would. What I would say to that though, and because I don't want to go on too much longer with the Carl Fury. Carl Fury's had one serious injury in his career, and he's not known to be injury prone. So coming to Arsenal has triggered something within his body, and it's kind of breaking down a bit. So I'm not sure if we could blame the player, but it's not about me; it's about you. On the next one, Brian. I'm not going to. I'm actually going. I'm way to defend you here. I'm a way to defend you. Now, it is a massive take to sell Ethan. A massive, massive take to sell Ethan. However, in the past, we've had players like, well, we still have him, uh, Nelson, who was offered a lot more. We also had the kid that we got offered 25 million. What? I can't even remember his name. Oh man, it's gone out of my head. I'm sure we got a bid in of 25 million. We actually refused it and he left Arsenal on a free transfer. Teams like
Was
Chelsea,
that Charlie Patino, maybe?
no, it wasn't Charlie, no. It was the other one. He was a right back for Arsenal. Young kid, Hale
Bellerin?
End.
Bellerin?
No. Young kid, Hale End. He ended up leaving on a free transfer. Now, teams like
Yeah, I don't
Manchester.
remember.
Now, I'll come back to me. I'll maybe get it before the end of the podcast. Teams like Manchester City have got players coming through. Now, I like the angle that you're going with this, although that I don't agree with selling Ethan, but it's not my dream team. Man City are planning selling McAtee this summer.
Hmm.
They sold Cole Palmer to Chelsea, and the reason that they're doing that is Man City want now ready now players to come in, not players to develop, etc. Chelsea let go Wakonga, Kevin De Bruyne, Mo Salah, Declan Rice for the very same reason. So before everybody goes for Brian in the chat, just try and bear this in mind as we go on. Now, Brian, I'm only going to give you a couple of minutes on the next slide, okay?
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Right. Actually, before we get to the next slide, I almost forgot. We've got two players up we didn't mention in the slide, so I'll just quickly do it. Neto and Sterling as on loan. And if you say that Sterling's fucking signing a contract, I'm going to end the stream and it's not getting aired.
Oh God, no! Like totally gone.
No,
Totally gone. Like nothing personal against them, but I don't even know why they were here. I don't even
yeah,
know why they were here.
100%. Right, speak to me about this slide, bro.
Like I am so sad about this. And if I could sing, then it would be, Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On, just like Kieran Tierney. Kieran Tierney is 100% my favorite player on Arsenal. Like, I mean, it all came back to during COVID when you saw that picture of him rolling up to the game with everybody having their Louis Vuitton and all their shit. And here's Kieran Tierney running up in there with his boots and his gear in a Tesco bag. And then you just watch him out there. And yes, he has the injury problems. But God damn it, when he is out there, he is a lockdown defender. We complain a lot about not being able to create off the left. Like that dude can whip in across like nobody's business. And like if it were me, like I would 100% keep him. He was supposed to be captain material, and he still is. He still is, and he's going to go back to Celtic right now, and he's going to do great things. But that's my heart, man. That's my heart.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think there was also an image during that time of the Tesco bag where it was snowing. and everyone was covered
And
up and
dude's
wrapped
wearing
up.
shorts and a t-shirt.
T-shirt, yeah, shorts and a
I
t-shirt. So it
love it.
was, yeah,
I
yeah.
love it.
Do you know what, Brian? I've got to agree. Obviously, I'm Scottish, and this is my Scottish brother. I didn't think it would affect me, but even today, I put a tweet out saying it's Kieran Tierney's last home game, and the closer it's getting to the exit for Kieran, the more that I'm actually feeling it. Like
No, I agree.
I think like knowing that we've got Kieran on the bench, it's like yeah, it's all right. Arsenal just are maybe moving on different angle, etc. But we've still got Kieran. In 2 games' time, we don't have Kieran anymore. As you say, he's gone back to Celtic. So just full respect for the guy, Brian. And I know, like, I love him. He's my fellow Scotsman. Brian loves him like 200 million times more than I do.
Named one of my kids. Named
Exactly.
one of
He's
my
named
kids today.
one of his 15 kids has been named after Kieran.
It's four, thank you. Four.
For right, the other players leaving on a free.
So Jorginho, I think he was a sleeper. Like, we brought him in for what, 12 million, something like that. And we got 12 million and more out of him. He's a great teammate. He really did what he needed to do. Like, he could settle the ball on the midfield. He knew those passes to make. And I think he was really, really good for us. Would I like to have kept him on, maybe another year contract? Sure. But I understand, if he wants to get, the more playing time, or, if he wants to kind of set himself up for the future, absolutely. Thank you for being here, Jorginho. Hated you at Chelsea, loved you here. And then Thomas Partey, I know there's been rumors of him signing a contract extension, like a 1 year with a 1 year extension on top of that. And again, I would 100% do that. I would 100% do that. He is, this season, now that he stayed healthy, he's been absolutely fantastic. And, I think in that first leg against PSG, taking the second leg out of it because we saw what happened. But in that first leg against PSG, we could totally tell, how much we missed him.
Yeah,
But, because he's leaving on a free for, the purposes of this exercise, hey, we'll give you a big hug on the way out, dude. Wish you well, you know.
yeah. I agree with what you said about Jorginho. For me, Brian, I would put him as my second favourite player that we've ever signed from Chelsea, and it's only behind Havertz. £12 million. He was signed to replace Elmeni because Elmeni went down with an injury. He's back up 12 million. We got 4 times that out of him. Great servant. Well and truly deserves a free transfer and get some money. And he's elevated Arsenal for me. Right, we'll
Yeah,
move
but
on to
what about that
you.
dude? What about that dude Sterling from Chelsea? Do you like him?
Let's move. I'm not biting. I'm not biting, bro. um, um, as I said, if you've not watched it yet, go on to my squad. I actually said, Brian, during mine, that Arsenal should have done better with the money they're paying Raheem Sterling 100k a week. They should have given it to the homeless around in and around London because they give more to
Hmm.
Arsenal than what Raheem Sterling did. So so yeah, I'm going to get him spitting at his coffee. Yeah, I swear to God. Right, players in, bro. Just slide through them.
Okay. So yeah, so I know, a lot of us have picked Joan Garcia, and I think for good reason. If you look at him, if you go into the advanced stats, he has one of the best goals, XG saved, whatever you call it. I don't remember what the hell they call it,
They use
but
you.
basically the number of goals that he has saved his team that he shouldn't have, it's the best in Europe right now. I think it's like 2.4, 2.5 for, a middling Espanol team. Um, Actually, no, I think they might be in the running for Europe. But either way, they're not Madrid, they're not Barcelona, they're not Atleti. Like, it's a second tier team that he's been doing really, really well for. And I know a lot of people have said, his distribution is great as well. I don't give a shit about distribution. If you're a goalkeeper, your job is to keep the ball out of the net. If you can stop shots, that's what I like. And Arteta is addicted to Spanish goalkeepers. So this will kind of scratch the itch from him with getting Raya out of there.
Yeah. This is where it gets ludicrous, people, and I make no apologies for this. It's nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me whatsoever.
Fabrizio Romano, here we go. All right.
Explain.
All right. So hear me out on this one. Hear me out. He should have never lost his job to Raya in the first place. And we all know it. People wanted to say, oh, his first season with us, he lost us the Premier League. No. Saliba going down lost us the Premier League. And that's nothing against him. You want to talk about distribution. Ramsdale's distribution is great. But Ramsdale will also make the saves that he's not supposed to make. People are going to want to talk shit about his performance at Southampton this year and, how this is going to be the third time that he's been relegated. Well, guess what? Every time he's been relegated, he's been on historically bad teams, and that's not on him. And, again, comparing Ramsdale and comparing Raya's not going to make the saves that he's not supposed to make. Ramsdale's a fan and a team favorite. I remember when Southampton came to the Emirates earlier this year. Like, if you saw the video of him hugging everybody, like, those were like, bro, I miss you. It was like seeing. I mean, this is going to sound weird because we're talking about all dudes, but it's like seeing your girlfriend who you didn't want to break up with have to move to another school, right? And then she comes back and you're like, God damn, I miss you. That's what it was like seeing somebody you care about, seeing somebody you love not being able to be there and finally getting able to see him again. And you could just see Ryan knew that he didn't have the heart of everybody, and that's not saying that they don't all get along, but it's different and you can tell. And so I think Ramsdale coming back, like, that would be great for us. I don't necessarily know who the number one would be between Garcia and between Ramsdale, but I think it would really be a more honest competition than than it was between Raya and Ramsdale, and they would push each other. They would push each other.
Just for the sake of backing Brian up with the saves, if you look at the actual slide, that's a picture of a save that he made against Madison when Madison was at Leicester, and that's the free kick that he tipped onto the crossbar. That was just remarkable. Right, okay. I'm not going to say anymore because we'll be speaking about this for 2 hours, bro. Next slide.
So we're talking about getting defensive depth. I'd bring in Upamecano from Bayern Munich. He's already playing for a top club in Europe. He is excellent in the air. Excellent in the air. If you look at the underlying stats, and he's a big dude. They're not going to body him off the ball. Like, he's going to be one of those guys. I don't think he really scores, but with us having the set piece coaches and the set piece routines that we have, that would give us Big Gabby in the box. That would give us Upamecano. It would give us Saliba in the box. Like, all these big dudes that would be threats, and like I think he would be a really good depth addition. If he wanted to come and be depth, okay, sure. But another thing we have to remember too, he plays on the French national team, which means he's boys with Saliba. So that might be able to get him here.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Slightly left field, but I do like him as well. Now this one, is this sentimental because of his citizenship, or do you actually really rate this kid?
I actually really rate him. I mean, yes,
Right.
I'm an American, he's an American, and so there is a little bit there. But he's been one of the best left backs in the Premier League this year. yes, Fulham attacks a little bit differently than we do. You know, he does more bombing runs down the left side and whips crosses into the box. But people aren't going to dribble past him. You know, he's a decent enough passer of the ball that he could do that inverted left back role. Um, yeah, I really think he would be a good addition. You know, he gives us that speed that we don't necessarily have with MLS. You know, he's yes, short answer, yes. And I would challenge anybody to tell me I would challenge anybody to tell me otherwise.
I think personally, Brian, I like him. If I'm being honest, I think he's a good player. Benching MLS, it's your team. It's your team. That's the only thing I would say. But he is a really, really good player. I just had to get the American bit in because I love America. You know
Yeah.
that. Like, Martin.
So yeah, you know, we've been. I mean, it's virtually a lock that we're going to get him, and that's not why I put it in here. You know, he's one of the best defensive midfielders in Europe, and Vicente Del Bosque, you know, the old Spanish manager. I think he was manager of Barcelona. Whatever. Like we all know his name. You know, we all know the gif where he's like, you know, the oof gif. He said something. He had a quote a while back when he was talking about Sergio Busquets, and he said, "If you watch the game, you won't see Busquets. If you watch Busquets, you'll see the game." And he is exactly the same. He won't make a lot of highlights. You know, he scored a couple goals, but he's one of those guys that makes the players around him better. You know,
Yeah.
his vision, his able to make those passes. It's like he's almost a younger Partey. You
Yeah.
know, I don't think he's as big as Partey. You know, he might have a little bit of transition coming to the Premier League because it is a more physical league than La Liga. But he's that guy. He's that guy.
He controls the tempo of the game if you
Hmm.
watch him, Brian. Absolutely controls the whole tempo of the game. So I like that comparison that you gave. Moving on, this is
So
a player I
nope.
don't know much about at all, Brian. So
So so he plays center mid for PSG, and he actually had decent games against us both times in the semis. Now, like I didn't go with recency bias on this. I didn't go with recency bias on this. You know, one of the things that I did was I went on FB and I went on you know, whatever the hell else it was, you know, and kind of looking for where we were deficient, you know, of course, based on injuries and things like that. You know, I looked for progressive passers. I looked for people who could be flexible in positions. I looked for people who would be able to track back. And to me, he is an outstanding box to box midfielder. You know, he's very versatile, very versatile. You know, he can play basically all across the midfield, and if you look at him, like he holds onto the ball tighter than his girlfriend. You cannot get the ball off that dude. You know, I really think that that's something that we could use. You know, if for nothing else than depth, but you know, I think he would give people a run for their money to try and break into the starting 11. I really do.
yeah, no, perfect. This one
So,
is totally left field because the chances of getting them are probably none. But
well, I mean,
however,
it's a dream. It's a dream.
yeah, yeah,
Um, you know, Michael Olise, he's proven in the Premier League. You know, he went from Palace to Bayern Munich, and you know, to get a move, to another league or another country, I should say, you know, from Palace in and of itself is an accomplishment. For him to go to one of the top three teams in, you know, top three, top four teams in Europe, that's an even bigger accomplishment. And you know, like I said, he's proven here. He's versatile as well. He can play the 10. You can also put him out on the wings. You know, he could probably shift over in the middle of games. You know, he gives you that threat, and he's creative. You know, and that's kind of stuff that we've been missing. You know, also he's a French international, and so you got Saliba. you would theoretically have Upamecano, and so he would have you'd have Zaire Emery. I forgot he was French. You would have all these people that would be able to help everyone settle in.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing, and that's something that a lot of people don't think about, is not only settling in from a tactical and a playing style wise, being comfortable where you are, taking it back to Tierney a little bit. I remember watching the All or Nothing documentary a few years ago, and he was saying, one of the problems that he was having was that he was homesick.
Mhm.
There, I don't think there was anybody else Scottish on there, and he was making friends and everything, but
Yeah,
he
yeah.
didn't have the connections that he needed slash wanted interpersonally until he had been there for a little while. You get a bunch of people from the same country on there, yeah, you'd be okay. You'd be okay.
See, when he was making your slides up, just a quick one, Elise, what I would also say about that move, he never just went to Bayern Munich. He is actually ripping it up at Bayern Munich. He's actually
Uh-huh.
one of the best players.
Uh-huh.
Of what I've seen at Bayern Munich anyway, he's shown in the games that I've seen him. But you're also, when I was doing the slides, Brian, I did see the connection to France. And during our greatest period in history, it was us bringing the French players here. So I
Hmm.
did like that angle where you were coming and where you're looking with. Okay, on to the next one.
So Rodrigo, I really like him. I really like him. I don't watch La Liga that much, but what I have seen of him, yeah, he's all right. He brings a lot of speed. He brings a lot of speed to the table. He can score from anywhere. Like he will score a goal that you don't see coming. He's outstanding with the ball at his feet as well. He can be a prima donna, but he's Brazilian, and we got Big Gabby, back on the back line, and he'll tell him to shut the hell up, play the game. I'm your big brother. I will beat your ass if I need to. I really see that happening. And from what I've heard, he's friends with Martinelli as well. And so, again, there's that connection, where you need that to be able to settle in.
He actually got pushed out to the right wing at Real Madrid because Vinicius Junior came in and he
Hmm.
played left wing. So you've got the option of either wing for him. And just to back this up, because I said the same on mine, if he came into Arsenal Football Club, he instantly becomes my second favourite player at Arsenal, only behind Big Gabby. Only behind Big Gabby. I would sacrifice, and yes, you can swear at me, it's not about my team. I would sacrifice signing a striker this summer to get this guy in. If your dad is only giving me one or the other, I want him in. This is the gold dust on top of Arsenal Football Club. This is the gold dust. That's where I'm at.
Okay. Okay. We
That's
can we can have
that's
that discussion. We can have that
yeah.
discussion.
We will have these arguments later, bro. Um, Now on to Nico.
So bring in Nico Williams. He's playing for a Bilbao club that is, again, one of that kind of the second tier team in La Liga, but he's tearing it up. He is fast, so fast. And if you look at him, he really likes to cut in on his right foot and whipping the crosses. Um, yeah, he's gonna be kind of showy, which kind of makes him a little bit like Martinelli, but he is more likely to cut in and shoot, or cut in and give that driven cross into the box, and really be a different type of threat. I don't think we have. Well, I mean, we kicked Rye out, so he really doesn't have that. Joan Garcia would be a good connection there, but I think because he's younger, he is going to need more mentorship from Arteta and from the coaching staff to really integrate into the team.
Yeah.
But he's definitely somebody that can grow into somebody even better than he is right now.
No, 100%. The only thing, and it has been mentioned before, we're not all accountants, we're not trying to be, but the wage demands that Nico is getting, but what the money
Yeah.
he's getting off Bilbao is a very high wage. And for him to come to Arsenal, you're talking he'd be the highest paid player at the age of 22. Then I'm afraid that Arteta's door's getting chapped. Arteta's door's getting chapped. Berta's door's getting chapped by Saka, Rice, Saliba, Gabriel, and every other player saying, he's on this, where's mine? And I think that could be a stumbling block for Nico. But I do agree. I do like him. I really do like him.
Yeah, sorry to hear my dog
Yeah,
barking in the background.
no, that's all right. That's all right.
Um,
Um,
so yeah, like I know a lot of people have been on Victor Gyökeres. I personally am not. I want Benjamin Sesko. Sesko is tall. He's like 6'2", 6'3", maybe even taller than that, or however tall that is in meters. I don't know. That's fake measurements. Fake measurements right there. Um, and he is a phenomenal ball striker of the goal. Like he could score at the Emirates from the training ground, just like
yeah,
bombs him from downtown. He plays more Route One football, which is kind of what we need. Not to compare it too much to Jokeris, but Jokeris is like a Holland. Jokeris is a big dude, but Jokeris doesn't really create anything on his own. He thrives off service, or he does the same thing over and over. Like, he'll be on, he'll be on like one side or the other, and then he'll just try and go in, or he'll try and go in. And another thing that I think is really good about Sesko is he's coming from the Bundesliga, and the Bundesliga is a tough league. Yeah, it's more open offensively than the Premier League, but he's proven that he can do it, and he's proven playing for Slovenia. You know, like they've. I mean, it's Europe. No team is really bad
yeah.
in Europe as far as the national teams, and he's proven that he can do it at multiple levels.
We done a tactical breakdown on him, and I asked a couple of questions to the guys, so I got mentioned during it. If you've not had the chance, have a look at the tactical breakdown with Des and Rich. But I actually said that, do you think there's anyone at Arsenal could strike a ball like Sesko? And Richard came back and said Thomas Partey. I disagree. I think he's better and hits the ball cleaner, more power, and more accurate than Thomas Partey. And I honestly do believe that. And I think if you had Sesko and you had a low block, there's two things could happen. One, his height, he could be in the
Mm-hmm.
box for head on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing, he could drop back and smash one from 25, 30 yards out into the top corner. And all of a sudden, you don't have a low block anymore. So that again, for me, I can see where you're going for him. Right, so this is your incoming transfers. Um, but we've just went through them all. Some absolutely brilliant ones there, and you spent 467 million, but you're way under budget, so you're saving some of your inheritance. Saving some. So do you want to come? Yeah, here we go.
My dad
So
will be so pissed at me. He'll be so pissed at me. Like I am projecting this into the future. But yeah, so for the
but
transfer outs,
yeah, you have saved a bit of money here, bro.
so yeah, so we did what? Of course, I got my sunglasses on because it looked cool that way. So we sent out 259 million pounds. Going out, which I think like we were saying might be a little bit unrealistic. But by the same token, this is a thought exercise, and so that's where we're going with. My dad said that I could have 300 million pounds, which is really nice of him. Um, so that gives us a total allowance of 559 million pounds, which is a shit ton of money. Which is a shit ton of money. With our transfers coming in, 467 million pounds, and Yeah, that's a lot too. That's a lot too. And I know one thing that I have been really, really like one thing I hate about modern football is, spending that kind of money. I worry that for our club, it's unsustainable. But again, with the cities of the world, with the Chelseas of the world, with all the clubs out there that are just, backing dump trucks full of money up to people's front door, you kind of have to do it. Um, but that gives us, assuming we would use all this money, that gives us, 91 million pounds remaining. So, you know, we could upgrade the tube station. We could buy more stuff for the outside of the Emirates. My dad could just keep that money and give it to the Nuggets or Walmart or whatever the hell it is. But we're at least saving money.
Like, okay. So on to your 20, on the moment it's only a 22 man squad because we put two people in each position. Do you want to quickly run through that for me, Brian?
Sure. So like I was saying before, we don't really know who would necessarily be the number one. So just for this, put Juan Garcia up there with Ramsdale backing him up. Going across the back line, starters left to right would be Robinson, Big Gabby, William Saliba, and then Ben White backing. The backups going across the back line. It'd be Lewis Skelly, Jakob Kivior, who I think has really, really turned it on the second half of the season. I think especially against Madrid, especially against PSG, he really showed what he can do with a run of games. And so, if we're looking for the depth and we're looking for the rotation so people don't get injured, I think Kivior would really do that well. For right center back, we were talking about Upamecano, backing up Saliba, and then backing up Ben White. You have Urian Timber. I think that's pretty much his best decision right now. Going across the midfield at the 8, I picked Zaire Emery. Declan Rice, I put him at the 6, and anybody that doesn't put him at the 6, really needs to go back to U7 football because you have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
I put him
And
in the
then
eight. I put him in the eight, so me and you'll have an argument on this later as well. But
oh, no,
continue.
I mean, well, yeah, but like I meant more of like if you don't have Rice in
Yeah,
in your starting 11, if you
yeah,
don't
yeah,
have him in your starting 11,
yeah,
like you just don't know.
yeah.
And then you put Odegaard at the right 8. And then you have Marino backing up Zaire Emery. You have Zubamendi backing up Rice, and then you have Michael Olise backing up Martin Odegaard. And then left to right across the front, you got Nico Williams, you got Benjamin Sesko, and you got the Star Boy. Then across the front, backing it up, you got Martinelli. You got Kai Havertz, who I absolutely love. I don't know why, I just love Kai Havertz. And then we got your boy Rodrigo uh, backing up Saka. And one thing that I really looked for, in building this lineup is you build it for flexibility and you build it for depth. You have multiple players on here who can play multiple positions. So that way you aren't necessarily wedded to the 4-3-3 with the single pivot. You can go to a 4-2-3-1 if you need better defensive structure. You can go to a 4-3-3 with the double pivot and the 10. If you wanted to go to a 4-2-4, you could even do that. Like, you have so much you can do with this team. You know, One of the things we wanted to do was win the quad. Tell me you wouldn't, or tell me you wouldn't even have. Tell me you wouldn't be able to get close with this.
Yeah, you
It'd
would
be
get
close.
close. You would get close. So we do know that, like, part of your 25 man squad, you've already said it, except for comes in and goal. Who's your two academy players that you're bringing up?
Number one, Max Dallin. Like the stats speak for itself. Everybody sings his praises. There's nothing I can add that anybody hasn't already added. And then Jack Clark. like he's one of the guys. Right now he's a center back. Maybe shift him out to the right. As he's growing, but he gives you that flexibility. He gives you that depth. People talk about Butler Odeje. I can't remember how you pronounce
Did
his
you?
name.
I think it's just
Um,
edgy.
Odeji.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, but with the lineup that we have here, nah, you don't need him. You
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I would bring up those two. I would bring up those two.
Right. Just a couple more points before we sign off. When I asked everybody to do this little project for a bit of fun, etc., Brian, nobody put so much thought into this as what you have. I mean, you should, honestly, guys, you should see the prep that like he sent over to me to create everything. It was done professionally, etc. I think you play a lot of football manager, bro.
Oh, and pardon me, it was Braden Clark. Sorry, it was
Very
Braden
Clark,
Clark.
London,
It was
yeah,
Braden Clark. I
yeah,
got a couple guys confused there, but yeah, like Clark, I would bring
yeah.
up.
Yeah, so I was just saying that you must play a lot of football manager with the amount of preparation that you put into this. You take this shit so serious, bro.
I mean, I play a lot of FIFA. I'm not gonna lie, but I really tried hard, not to have that FIFA mindset.
Yeah, that was
I love the game. I love the game, and
it,
I geek
it,
out about this shit.
it was good. And I know that one of the questions that the viewers want to know, Brian, you're 5 hours behind us at this moment, and you were up
Yep.
very late last night. Not through your own fault, but you were up very late last night. So one of the questions that will definitely come: do you sleep with sunglasses on?
No, because I sleep on my side. And, like I don't want to break them or anything.
Yeah, so you don't. You okay, bro? Just lastly, guys, we've got two amazing competitions currently running. The links are in the descriptions. They're free to enter. Please jump on, click on these links, and just get involved. One of the gifts is the Invincible Coin Set. It's absolutely unbelievable. It's from Zenith Coins. I have some Zenith coins, and believe me, the quality of them is unbelievable. Now, one of the coins, go and check for yourself. Actually, I think three of the coins are now sold out, but the first one to sell out was the Kronkie coin. You were able to purchase it, I think it was around £24.99. If you go into eBay at this moment in time, it's selling for like 50 quid. So it's actually doubled in value because they're sold out. Now, the Arsenal badge one, they're double sided as well. That's sold out. That's just sold out. And in the North Bank coin, that's also sold out. So the valuations of them are going to go up. Believe me, this Invincible set is unbelievable and it will rise. We've also got a competition from Ruthbeck Art. My house is covered in it. I've said this umpteen times. Her work is absolutely phenomenal. Ruth is such a beautiful girl. So, again, guys, just hit the links below, get involved. The big Sunday show will be on the 1st of June, and we'll be doing a live draw for it. And someone or one person for each competition will win on that. Lastly, Brian, thank you so much. This has been brilliant. It's the longest one I knew it would be, but I've really, really enjoyed it, bro.
No, dude, like I really appreciate this. I mean, like I've said countless times before, but I'll say it again. Like I really appreciate, you know, being allowed to, being privileged to be part of this podcast and to be part of this community and honestly to call y'all friends. I really appreciate it.
You're definitely a brother, Brian. It's even beyond friends. You're a brother and a massive part of what we do in the North Bank. So, guys, just before we sub off, please like, subscribe, share the podcast, get involved in the comments. Brian will come back at you. He's already said that, and believe me, he does come back. Usually with a lot of it as well. It's extremely funny. But Brian, again, my brother, thank you so much for doing this, and I've really enjoyed it, bro.
Thanks, brother. Me too. Up the fucking Arsenal.
Up the fucking Arsenal. Let's go, guys. Bye.